So I had all these grand ideas in my head. I had all of these big visions for how I wanted this live to go. I had this list of things that I wanted to talk about, a little recap on my Atlantis journey, and just these various different threads that I was gonna pull from. And then on Saturday, I woke up with just this immense weight and pressure just weighing down on my chest, and I was like, what is going on astrologically here? And I remembered that it was Saturn retrograde. And for me, so I'm Pisces. I have Pisces, I'm a Pisces sun, Saturn and Mars, right? And my moon, Venus and Lilith are all in Aries. And if you are tuned into astrology, you'll know that we're kind of doing this dance between Saturn in Pisces and Saturn in Aries right now, and this retrograde. And so I feel like all of me is just being deconstructed and really just, pulled up in this really, really uncomfortable way. And I find this trigger that kind of comes up for me when it's a really nice day and when it's really beautiful weather, because having moved to Ireland about 4 months ago, I haven't got my in-person community here. And so it's like, those days where, it's the weekend or it's, whatever, and you just want to connect, you just want to hang out. You just want to have some fun, and community and connection, and that hasn't showed up for me fully here. I've very much got, threads and, different people that have kind of dropped into my sphere and things like that, but I don't have that strong sense of community yet. I don't have strong, friendships, and, and I appreciate that all of that stuff just takes time. It just takes time, and it can be hard as somebody who is very, instant manifestation, all of those kinds of frequencies for a really long time. At least, I'd say over 10 years, I've been playing with those energies and just had the most magical results and experiences. And then to have the universe very strongly sending a message of patience and wait, and just having to honor that cosmic timing is really challenging sometimes. And I guess that's at large what we're all here to do on some level, is to sync up with the the desires that are bigger than our egoic selves and are bigger than our ego minds, and surrender to that knowing that we cannot see the bigger picture all the time, and that can be really tough. And another kind of piece where that was coming in for me as well was after my transmission on Atlantis and the journey, which was just so powerful and so beautiful. And I forget how much I love being in group spaces like that and sharing in group spaces like that, because they're so just the energies that everybody brings to the table are all intersecting and are really bring this sense of aliveness to the field that is just so palpably magical. And I just love being in those spaces and channeling within those spaces. But again, it was that thing of not having someone to sort of celebrate it with, or come off the call and just have someone to help you just co-regulate your nervous system after holding such a big powerful transmission like that, and having to just surrender to, okay, yeah, I'm just gonna go for a little nature walk by myself. And the thing is, I am so blessed to have such incredible online community. Like, my God, I have just the most beautiful souls that show up in the online sphere to me all the time, like all the time, whether it's through YouTube, people randomly finding me, or Instagram, or whatever it is. I feel so blessed to be so connected with, so many people in that space and in my client space and all of that. There's such flourishing, blooming, blossoming energies within all of that. But sometimes it's hard to acknowledge that when, there's these really tangible things that you want that you just don't feel that you have, and having to reconcile with all of those different aspects of you which are saying, no, this is the way it should be, I want it fucking now, and I'm not willing to wait for it. And really going into that sort of forcing kind of energy, which doesn't facilitate expansion. It doesn't facilitate growth. It's a gentle push-pull. Yes, of course we have to take action, we have to put things out there in order to also be open to receiving them, but we can't push in a way that's actually, when you push too hard, you tear. And so it's that sort of remembrance of that I've had to remind myself of. And I think it's just something that we come back to again and again and again and again and again, is this deeper level of trust and this deeper level of surrender, that just because we can't see everything, we can't see the full picture, it doesn't mean that things are not being woven in those universal fabrics behind the scenes. And so it's really been, this weekend for me, a real humbling and a real letting go of just my vision of how I thought things were going to go here, and also giving myself grace of like, it's been 4 months. And you could see it as, oh my God, it's been 4 whole months and still these visions of what I haven't arrived. Hi, Rebecca. These visions that I've had haven't arrived yet. Or you could be like, it's only been 4 months, and so really looking at the ways in which we can be pushing too hard, and our ego can latch on to these certain ideas of what we think we should be experiencing right now, rather than surrendering into that softness and that humble unknowing of everything that is unfolding around us. And so and the other piece around that as well, which I think which I know is really present for a lot of the people I work with. So many of my clients, especially my mentorship clients, have Chiron in the 11th house, like an astounding number. Aries moon. I am the Aries moon gang. And also Chiron in the 11th house. And I also have that placement, and just an insane percentage of my mentorship clients have that same placement. And that's all about that soul level wounding, or akashic level wounding around community. And what I find with people with that placement is because we're here to build our own communities, and so we'll often have experienced so many challenges around what that looks like, and being ostracized, being made to feel different. Maybe we've grown up somewhere where we look different from other people, or there's something around our personality that sort of ousts us from the mainstream, or from the collective, or from what is socially acceptable. And so then when we're faced with these external circumstances which are sort of mirroring that Chiron wound back to us, it can be really hard to know how to navigate it, and how to take the medicine from it as well. I think to have such deep level community wounds, it's always mirroring what direction you're meant to be going. And the 11th house as well is, it's international community, it's internet based, it's all of those things as well. It speaks to like those broad level communities rather than sort of that 3rd house, like local level community. So I always say that to my clients as well, of like, oh my God, you've got that placement. There's something big there to work with. So I want to touch a little bit on the Atlantis journey and some of the things that were coming through around that. And the card, funnily enough, that I pulled before the live was Atlantis. And it says, keep the vision big, stay in alignment as you grow. And the information that was coming through on that transmission, you know, so much of the stuff that, you know, if you're aware of things around Atlantis that, you know, we've heard before around its fall and things like that. But the sort of thread that was really coming through for the group was around speaking our truth. And even when it's difficult, even when we're against, you know, maybe what we might perceive to be hierarchical structures in our reality, and really being able to not necessarily feel like we have to fight against those, but that we're holding within our bodies this frequency of truth that we are able to transmit just by living, just by existing, just by being, just by not living in fear of those larger structures and the ways in which they might be playing out, or the ways in which they might be, you know, the sort of perceived effects that they may have on our lives. The task in this epoch, in this era, is to witness that, is to hold space for that if we feel called, if that's what we've written in as part of our blueprint and our mission. But ultimately it's to be so rooted in our own sense of truth and our own sense of who we are, and how we feel, how we transmit, how we hold everything that we are around, and how we hold ourselves, and really embody that sense of leadership, which always comes back to us. And there was so much coming through around the, you know, that sort of paradigm of leadership being that image of the, you know, the man on the stage, and everybody sort of gathered around him, just listening to him, you know, list out the manifestos. That's the paradigm that we're seeing crumble and die. And in many ways that actually is one of the last vestiges of this time that we are living in, is a remnant or a vestige of those old Atlantean frequencies, which were so much around the masculine, and how we've seen that those forms of leadership, just like every age and epoch, it will have its golden age, but it will also have its fall. And that's exactly what happened with the fall of Atlantis, and you know, those types of leaders taking things too far and externalizing their power to such a degree that literally the frequency of the landmass couldn't hold that level of density, and so everything began to crumble. And in many ways we're experiencing a recapitulation of that now. We're experiencing almost like a, you know, looking through a keyhole of, you know, what is happening on Earth now with what happened in Atlantis. And so some of the women on the call experienced some really deep level healing around that, around the part that they played, around, you know, a lot of healing around the throat, a lot of you know, recognition of the parts that we've played and how we've abandoned ourselves in these different ages and epochs. And it really felt to me like a sort of homecoming and a remembrance. And one part of the journey, we traveled to a oceanic temple, and these particular temples, from my experiences of journeying there, they are so ancient. Like, they are older than the earth herself. They are so, like, the memory that they hold is so deep, it is so profound. And I find that people tend to have really deep awarenesses come to them when they journey etherically to those spaces. And so that was one place that we went. And we also traveled to another etheric temple, which was more like a living library. It's kind of like an Atlantean Akashic field where you can access all of these different planes of information. And so that as well held a lot of resonance for some of the women on the call, whereas some, it seemed like there was more resonance with the Oceanic temple, and there was definitely crossovers there too. And lastly, we visited this dimensional plane which has been coming through really, really loud for me over the past few weeks, and it was coming through to me as New Atlantis. That's what I kept hearing, was New Atlantis. And I was sort of like, what is New Atlantis? Like, what does this wording actually mean? And when I sat with it and experienced this really powerful grid working session along the west coast of Ireland, and I could literally see this frequency of New Atlantis, and it speaks to this how it was told to me was like a lineage of light. So a lineage of leadership and people who are coming from that place of real transparency, truth, authenticity, and have written in their soul contract or their soul mission on some level that they're here to be a guide. And so everybody who was on the call has or had an aspect of self of theirs which exists within that plane, which they could access. And they often come through as like more of a council kind of form. It's got that real crystalline energy, almost similar to Shambhala, but different. And everybody there, when we traveled to that point, said that they just felt so, at home. Everybody felt so at home in that plane, and it was one of those where we could have just sat in that field for a long time. It was really, really, really beautiful, and there's so many crossovers with rainbow frequencies and energies there. And when you tune in and really listen to the sounds which emit from that field, it's like crystal singing bowls. It's so just divine and just really helps to just balance everything out in your field. So yeah, it was a really, really beautiful experience. And the main kind of theme, the main sort of takeaway that I was witnessing with it was around leadership. And every single woman on the call has that coded into their field on some level, whether they're in that place where they're really externalizing that and bridging it into their reality yet or not. And that was one of the main sort of messages was around women and community and connection, and that being such a powerful form of leadership in and of itself, and that being that sort of carrier of that divine feminine, that matriarchal wisdom. And I think something that is interesting as well is, although it is, much of what we're seeing in these sort of leadership spaces now is very feminine coded. It is not exclusive to biological sex, and that's what separates it from times of Lemuria or times of Atlantis, where again there was crossover, there was men and women in different leadership positions, but it was very much speaking to a feminine frequency in Lemuria, or very much speaking to a masculine frequency in Atlantis. And what I'm seeing so much now, and I'm sure many of you will agree, is like there is a blend. There's such a deeper blend of those energies that we're all being invited to sync up with, and you cannot have one without the other. You cannot have the masculine without the feminine. And I think that is something really powerful that's come from our prior epochs, is this learning of what, the golden age of Lemuria and that feminine energy, but also what happens when that gets taken to an extreme and when that gets taken past a point of balance within its polarity. And again, similar to Atlantis, we see what happens when the masculine gets taken way past any sort of form of harmony or balance, and it becomes heavily distorted. And so the time that we're living in now is about an amalgamation of those things. It's drawing from the golden ages of our different prior epochs and going, okay, that worked, that didn't, and we're going to bring all of this through now and really be able to embody it fully, really be able to sit in those energies and see what we have learned on a soul level, but also on a collective level as well. So yeah, there was a lot about rewriting the rule book. That was a real theme. I felt it was like we're letting go of everything that we've thought these sort of leadership archetypes should look like, and we're bridging it into our own sense of what those things actually mean. Yana, hey Courtney, you look beautiful. Oh, thank you, Yana. You always look beautiful, Yana, so thank you, that's very kind. So yeah, it was a really, really interesting transmission, and I'm looking forward to seeing everything that sort of comes through from everyone when they sort of dip back into the journey again, because that was definitely something that was coming through from people was, I know there's more for me here. I need to do that journey again. So yeah, I'm excited. It feels like it's continuing to unfold. It's a continuing journey. And yeah, so I think that was mostly what I wanted to say about Atlantis. And just one other thing that I feel is sort of relevant to this discussion too is this idea of the living transmission. And this was originally what I wanted to come on live and talk about before all this Saturn retrograde stuff. But that was something that I had really noticed before the Atlantis journey. Was in my head I was like wanting to, wanted it to be so good, and if you're a healer, if you're a space holder, it's like your work is everything, and so you want people to get the most from it, and it's like, please, oh my gosh, let's just make this so good, and people can take away everything they can from it. But so much of that is also just out of our hands. That's at the same time that can be our ego, wanting things to go a certain way. Everyone's going to get from it what they get from it, as long as you're facilitating the space in the right way and you're bringing through the channel messages that need to be shared. And it really got me thinking afterwards about this idea of the living transmission, and how as channels we cannot prepare for transmissions, we cannot prepare for whatever it is we're putting out into the world. Yes, we can do research, yes, all of those things are of course true, but ultimately when it comes to us being in the space, that is when everything comes alive, because it's about everybody else's energies as well, and what everybody else needs to hear, and whoever's guides show up in that field. And there's some things you cannot prepare for in that space, no matter how well researched you are. And I have noticed myself as well, when I've gone to other people's events, the thing that lights me up the most, and when I feel it and I get all the chills, is when someone's just speaking from their heart, and you can feel it, they're speaking from the heart rather than from like a PowerPoint or slides of things they've pre-prepared. And it's because that, in a way, the thing that is written is already dead, whereas what is alive is what is moving through you in the moment, and what is purposefully channeled to share and transmit with the people who are actually actively there. And so it was this real realization of, we can think that we have the plans, we can think, we can do all of those things. Yeah, and yes, there's definitely a difference, totally. We can think we have all of those things, and we can do our utmost to prep, but ultimately it's in the space. That's where the magic happens, and that's where everything that is truly in that state of movement and flux is allowed to be expressed. So I am feeling to do a little bit of a throat clearing, a little bit of light language, and just one other thing to touch on with that as well, just before I move on, is it's that whole thing of the living transmission being so at odds with the way that we have been taught, with the way that we're taught we have to memorize, and we have to, know everything off by heart, and we have to go into these exam type spaces and just be able to, put everything down on the page. And that is so at odds with the feminine and with the sort of chaos energetically that the feminine actually transmits. She cannot be caged. It's like trying to tame a wild animal. It's the exact same mirror to that. Energetically, it can't be done. But of course, when we're dealing with wild animals, we want to take those safety precautions. We want to make sure we've set up the space right. We want to, do whatever we can to ensure that everything is going to flow beautifully through that space. But ultimately, there isn't actually anything that we can do to, ensure that everything goes the way we want it to go. We have to let go of our ego in that way and just allow for whatever is meant to move through us in that space to move. Hello, Joanna. So I am going to do a little throat clearing, and then I think we will close. And yeah, just feeling a lot with both kind of retrogrades upon us, with the Saturn going retrograde, and then this upcoming Mercury retrograde as well, which I did want to talk about, but I don't think we're going to have time today. So yeah, just tuning in to your body, just tuning into your field. Hi, Diane. Hello, you just popped up live for me now. Cool. I'm glad you're here. So yeah, so we were just, for everyone that's just joined now, we were just talking a bit of a Atlantis recap, and I was talking about some of the ways the Saturn retrograde energies just hit my field on Saturday. I'm not sure if any of you guys were feeling some of that pressure, that heaviness. So yeah, this light language transmission is just to help bring you back into your body, coming back to what's true, and just unplugging from some of those collective energies as well. Because there is definitely some heaviness out there. So just calling all of you back to you. Sending back everything that isn't yours. Just doing a little clearing around the crown as well. Just coming back to center. Okay, and I'm just going to close by sharing a couple of the cards that I pulled before the call. So the first card was actually Atlantis. I showed this earlier. And the other card was Follow the Stream, Dedication, Trust, Future Rivers and Oceans. And I think this is really speaking to what was coming through at the start of the call, just around letting go of everything that you think, the way that you think things should be looking in your reality. Hey Elena, we were talking about this the other day, just yesterday, letting go of the way you think everything should look, and just actually just trusting in the bigger picture and the bigger plan. And then this one, King Tide, plenty, prosperity, receiving the fullness of life. Prosperity's been a big word for me recently. Hey, I love that I get to experience that live with you. I'm so glad that you're here. I keep saying I'm going to be signing off, and then more stuff keeps coming through. But I love that you showed up in this moment. Yeah, so there's been a lot of throat clearing, a lot of crown clearing, but it feels like a whole channel system clearing as well. Wisanai suishkutantasa, wishikuntasa, wishisanasa, suishkutera, shuintuse, shuisukutaisha, wishikantasa, wishasai, lisai, shuisukutanta, wishankatai, suishkurasa. Yeah, and just a note on that prosperity word as well. It speaks so much to, it's not just about abundance, it's not just about money, it's about having all the things that you need in your life to support you. All of the things around community, connection, relationships, all of that, and how that interweaves together. And that's really what facilitates, what creates prosperity for us. Just letting go of everything that isn't yours. I feel a lot going on in my root with your light language. Yeah. Definitely feeling that whole system thing going on. And just anchoring into your body. And just sealing it all in. Just feeling some projections sitting in a couple of people's throats. We're just going to pull those out. Do not need to carry those. Diane, thank you. I needed this today. Oh, Diane. So happy you could come. And definitely, I think you joined a little bit later on, Diane, but I was talking at the start about some of the collective energies. We're about to go into Mercury retrograde. We've just had Saturn in retrograde start on Saturday, which was like a massive slap in the face. that was really how I'd describe those energies. So yeah, I'm glad this could bring a little bit of levity for you. Yeah, just putting down everything that isn't yours to carry. Okay, that was a really big clearing there. That was literally me pulling off a whole load of stuff of someone's field. So, okay. So just making sure you really ground after this and drink some water if you can. I know the rain started here in Ireland again, so I don't know where you guys are, but if you can put your feet on the earth, just really ground in. I feel slightly lightheaded, lol. Yeah, I felt that too. I really felt that. Yeah, so just making sure you drink lots and lots of water. I actually feel some cacao for you, Elena. I would just taste it there. Also, Diane, I'm just hearing a message for you. I don't know how tuned into your dream space you are, but just be aware of messages coming through your dreams, certain things processing in your dream space at the moment. Oh yes, to the cacao. Thanks for bringing that to me. Also, just really feeling all the Egypt codes right now. So if you feel called to do a little Egypt meditation, I know there's lots online. Yeah, Egypt remembrances is what I'm hearing. Thank you. Yes, I feel the dreams and a connection to Egypt. Okay, cool. Yeah, I just hear really deep remembrances there. I've also been feeling Avalon codes coming in. Yes, I've had that over the last week or 2 weeks or so. A lot of that moving too. Amazing. Also getting the word remembrance with that for you too, Elena, with Avalon. Okay. So just grinding all of this in. Also, and I'm actually gonna go in a minute. It's always that way, isn't it? When you start open channel, it's just like so much. Diane, just as well for you, the wind, goddess of the wind, Ianza, she goes by many names, but I'm just really feeling that for you. Just helping create that little bit more movement in your field. Okay. Okay. Sending you all so much love. Thank you for joining me on this live. I hope there has been some supportive messages and yeah, this has been really fun. So thank you all so much. Take care and speak soon.